Right now there is someone who is weaker than you, slower than you, less intelligent than you, less disciplined than you, and yet he is winning. Why? Because he does not hesitate. Because he looks certain when you second guess. Because he speaks without hesitation while you choke on your own doubt. Because he acts as if the world owes him everything while you wait for permission to deserve even a fraction. The world is not fair. The world does not hand power to the most capable. The world hands power to the most certain. And while you overthink, someone else takes what could have been yours. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right moment. You tell yourself you need the right words. You tell yourself you will act when you finally feel ready. But readiness is a trap. It never comes. The man who moves without it takes the reward. The man who waits for it is left behind. Confidence is not a personality trait. Confidence is a weapon. And if you do not carry it, someone else will use it against you. Centuries ago, Machiavelli understood this truth. He knew that the bold rise above the skilled, and that hesitation destroys even the most brilliant mind. Power has never belonged to the best. Power has always belonged to the most certain. What you are about to hear is not another sermon about motivation. This is not comfort. This is control. This is about turning yourself into the kind of man who moves like he expects to be obeyed. This is about erasing hesitation, about speaking as if your words are decisions carved in stone, about walking into rooms as if the space already belongs to you. This is the beginning of a transformation, and if you listen closely, your weakness will no longer be tolerated. It will be replaced. You were not born weak. Weakness was given to you. It was trained into you. It was forced upon you by repetition, by reward, by rules designed to tame you. You were trained to obey. You were trained to seek approval. You were trained to ask, is this acceptable? Am I allowed? Will they like me if I do this? What you call yourself right now is not even the real you. It is a servant built from layers of submission, a loyal dog waiting for someone to pat his head. That is why you flinch at judgment. That is why you apologize before speaking. That is why hesitation rots inside your mind every time you try to act. That voice that interrupts you, that makes you stall, that urges you to play small. That voice is not you, that is the inner servant. And if you do not kill him, you will never be free. Machiavelli did not whisper. He commanded. He did not wait for permission to move. He moved and forced the world to catch up. He did not hope for power to be given to him. He seized it because he knew that those who ask for it prove they do not deserve it. Your transformation begins with inversion. Every time you feel the urge to shrink, you expand. Every time you feel the pull to explain, you pause. Every time you feel the reflex to apologize, you stare instead. Because dangerous confidence is not born from preparation. It is born from doing what the inner servant would never dare. When you want to step back, you step forward. When you want to hide, you expose yourself. When you want to nod in agreement, you hold still. That is the moment you start becoming someone others cannot control. You begin with your body. You walk faster. You take up more space. You stop tilting your head down like a student. You stop softening your shoulders like a beggar. You stop nodding at everything people say like a desperate admirer. Your posture becomes a weapon. You learn to carry silence like a blade. and then you move to your voice. You stop speaking like your sentences are questions. You stop sprinkling your words with filler, maybe, with I think, with I am not sure. You stop apologizing before every statement. You speak like your words are final, like they are decrees instead of suggestions. And you will notice something shift. People will stop debating with you. They will start adjusting themselves to you, because you are no longer offering words. You are delivering verdicts. Confidence is not a mindset. It is not positive thinking. It is not repeating affirmations in the mirror. Confidence is an identity, and that identity is forged in defiance. Not defiance against the world. Defiance against yourself, against the version of you that was built to serve. Every time you resist the urge to shrink, you are killing him. Every time you refuse to explain, you are killing him. Every time you silence your apology before it leaves your mouth, you are killing him. And when the servant finally dies, the ruler awakens. The world will tell you to be kind. The world will tell you to be polite. The world will tell you to be nice. But the Machiavellian truth is that nice men are used. Nice men are tools. Nice men are stepped on, discarded, and replaced. Powerful men are not nice. They are precise. They are measured. They are controlled. They are calculated. Their strength does not come from pleasing everyone. It comes from refusing to be bent by anyone. And that begins by slaughtering the little voice that begs for acceptance. You do not need permission. You do not need validation. You need only one thing: the willingness to become feared, not by others, but by the weaker version of yourself. Powerful men do not arrive loudly. They arrive with presence. They do not announce themselves with chatter. They announce themselves with silence, with stillness, with the atmosphere that shifts when they enter a room. They do not chase attention. They create gravity, and people feel it. That is the difference between a man who exists to be noticed and a man who exists to be obeyed. When you enter a room, you do not search for permission. You do not scan the eyes of others to see if you are welcome. You do not adjust yourself to appear harmless. You walk in like a storm that does not care if the sky is ready. You observe. You absorb. You calculate. You allow others to rush to prove themselves while you remain still, because predators do not sprint unless it is time to strike. Until that moment, they conserve, they wait, they prepare. That is how presence is built. That is how silence becomes power. Most men move too quickly. They talk too fast. They laugh too loudly. They interrupt without thought. Because inside they are desperate. Desperate to impress. Desperate to belong. Desperate to prove their value. But when you move slowly, you show that you have no need to prove anything. You show that time belongs to you, that you are not pulled by anyone's urgency. That is the way rulers behave. That is the way kings behave when they know the court must bend around them. And once you carry yourself this way, people begin to adjust without realizing it. They lower their volume. They hesitate before speaking. They start to measure their words because your silence has made the air heavy. You must understand that speaking often is not power. Words are not dominance when used carelessly. Words are weapons, and most men swing them like sticks instead of blades. You hear it instantly. The rising tone at the end of every sentence, the nervous laughter stitched into every phrase, the endless repetition of, I think, I guess, I am not sure. These are the sounds of weakness. They are signals that the speaker is asking for permission to exist. That is not speech. That is submission disguised as communication. And if you want to kill the servant inside you, you must slaughter these habits without mercy. Machiavelli knew this truth long before psychology gave it a name. Power is not in the correctness of your words. Power is in the certainty with which you deliver them. People are not logical. They are emotional. They do not follow truth. They follow conviction. If you sound certain, they assume you are correct. If you hesitate, they assume you are not worth listening to. It is that simple. So you must train your voice to carry the weight of inevitability. Slow, calm, final. You do not speak as if you are offering suggestions. You speak as if you are delivering laws. You do not leave your words open for debate. You speak as if the discussion is already over and you are the one closing it. The effect is terrifying. Even in a room of experts, when you speak like a decision instead of an idea, they lean in. They defer. They stop treating you like a peer and begin treating you like a leader. Because in their minds, authority is not about truth. Authority is about certainty. That is why weak men will always remain tools. They can be smarter, more skilled, more talented, but if they cannot sound sure, they will always bend to the ones who do. You must learn to speak less and mean more. The more you talk, the more chances you give others to decode you, to predict you, to strip away the weight of your presence. Power thrives in scarcity. So when you do speak, eliminate softness. No fillers. No disclaimers. No escape hatches like, I could be wrong, or this might not make sense. Burn those phrases out of your vocabulary. Say what you mean, and then stop. Leave the silence hanging in the air. Let the silence dare others to challenge you. And most will not, because silence after certainty is one of the most powerful weapons a man can wield. Your tone becomes your true message. Words are the surface. Tone is the ground beneath them. If your tone is grounded, calm, deliberate, people sense where you stand in the hierarchy before they even process the words. If you want to rise, you lower your pitch, you slow your tempo. You strip away the nervous energy that betrays weakness. You sound like a man who has nothing to prove, a man who has already decided, a man who does not wait for agreement, because he knows agreement will eventually come. That is how rulers speak. That is how generals speak when they are surrounded by soldiers. That is how kings in exile speak before they take back their throne. And if someone challenges you, you do not explain. You do not defend. You do not justify, because defense signals fear. Defense signals that your position depends on their approval. Instead, you redirect. You cut their challenge short with words that sound like stone. I disagree. That is incorrect. And then you move on. The refusal to debate is not weakness. It is terrifying strength, because it signals that your reality is not up for negotiation. And when your reality is not negotiable, people bend to it, even when they disagree. That is how you control a room without ever raising your voice. That is how you make men afraid to push you, not because of what you say, but because of what you do not say. Confidence is not loudness. Confidence is gravity. It is the invisible weight behind your words, the assumption that others should listen. When you speak, the room must feel it, not because you shouted, not because you demanded, but because you spoke with unshakable certainty. You are not trying to be right. You are speaking as someone who cannot be wrong. You are not trying to be heard. You are speaking as someone who does not care if agreement comes now or later, because it will come eventually. That is power. That is presence. That is the difference between a man who is noticed and a man who cannot be ignored. But understand this clearly. Confidence without control is decoration. You can walk tall, you can speak well, you can move with authority, but if a single insult can trigger you, you are not powerful. You are exposed. If a compliment can soften you, you are not in control. If silence makes you spiral, you are still enslaved to the judgment of others. Power is not posture. Power is not tone. Power is not presence alone. True power begins when your emotions no longer belong to anyone else. That is the invisible war. That is the war most men never win. And until you win it, every other layer of confidence is only a mask waiting to be ripped off. The war for power is not fought outside first. It begins inside. Most men lose before they even step onto the battlefield because they are chained by their own minds. They think they want freedom, they speak of power, they dream of dominance, but their actions reveal their slavery. They check their phone the second it buzzes. They chase validation with every post, every glance, every approval. They adjust their speech so they do not offend. They laugh when they are not amused. They nod when they do not agree. These are not men. These are puppets, strings pulled by the fear of rejection and the hunger for acceptance. And until those strings are cut, no posture, no speech, no presence will make them powerful. At best, they will become decorated servants. At worst, invisible ghosts. You must train yourself to sit in discomfort without breaking. When silence surrounds you, you do not fill it with nervous chatter. You let it grow heavier until others collapse beneath it. When insult is thrown at you, you do not react. You do not defend. You let it pass through you as if it never landed. Because once people learn that nothing shakes you, they stop trying to shake you. Weak men react. Strong men absorb. Rulers remain unmoved. That is why the throne belongs to the few. It is not because they were born greater. It is because they mastered themselves while others remained slaves to emotion. Think of the wolf. The wolf does not bark to prove its strength. The wolf does not whimper when the prey resists. The wolf does not care if the forest approves of its hunt. It knows its role. It knows its nature. It knows it was built to dominate. The same truth applies to you. If you wish to rise, you must embrace that predators do not explain themselves to prey. If you begin to justify your hunger, you have already fallen into weakness. If you begin to beg for understanding, you have already betrayed yourself. The world respects force. The world respects conviction. The world respects those who move as if permission was never required. But beware. There is a trap even greater than fear. That trap is comfort. Fear keeps you running from rejection, but comfort lulls you into decay. Comfort whispers that you have done enough, that you deserve rest, that mediocrity is safer than war. That is the language of death. That is the poison that keeps men soft, distracted, fat, and forgettable. If you want to kill the servant in you, you must hunt comfort with the same hatred you hunt weakness. Because every time you choose comfort, you sharpen the chains around your own neck. Every time you step into discomfort willingly, you sharpen the blade that cuts them off. Understand this. Every powerful figure in history embraced discomfort. Kings trained for war when they could have indulged in wine. Generals rode with soldiers instead of hiding in silk. Rulers deprived themselves of ease so they could sharpen their instincts. Because the throne is not kept by softness. The throne is kept by ruthlessness, and ruthlessness begins with how you treat yourself when nobody is watching. Do you allow weakness to live inside you, or do you hunt it every day until your mind and body obey without hesitation? Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is proof. Proof that you are stronger than your impulses. Proof that you are not enslaved by every craving. Proof that you can command yourself before you command others. When you rise before the world wakes, when you train while others sleep, when you work while others waste time, you are not just building habits. You are programming your mind to accept that you are built differently. And when that belief grows, it radiates in everything you do. People sense it even if you never speak of it. They see it in your eyes. They hear it in your tone. They feel it in your silence. That is the unseen aura of a man who has mastered himself, and no costume, no performance, no empty speech can fake it. But the path is not romantic, it is brutal. Killing the servant inside you means killing parts of yourself that you have loved for years. It means abandoning comfort, entertainment, and the illusions that kept you warm. It means standing alone when the crowd walks away because they fear the fire you carry. It means walking with your own shadow in silence while others surround themselves with noise. Most men cannot handle this. They crave distraction more than freedom. They want to feel powerful without doing the work of becoming powerful. That is why they remain trapped in cycles of weakness, forever reaching for surface-level tricks to hide their reality. You must burn illusions. Stop telling yourself that the right clothes, the right car, the right words will make you dominant. They will not. A decorated servant is still a servant. Until you cut away your dependence on validation, you remain a slave, even if you wear the costume of a king, and the only way to cut it is through fire. Fire of discipline, fire of rejection, fire of solitude. Only when you endure the burning does the servant finally die. Only then does the predator emerge unshaken, undeniable, unstoppable. The Machiavellian man does not seek love. He does not chase admiration. He does not hunger for applause. He understands that all of these are luxuries, not necessities. What he seeks is control. Control over his environment, control over his enemies, control over himself. Love may come, admiration may come, applause may come, but he does not chase them, because chasing them is how you become chained to them. And once you are chained, you are no longer dangerous. You are domesticated. You are tamed. And a tamed man can never rule. So you must ask yourself, are you willing to kill comfort? Are you willing to kill the parts of yourself that beg for ease, that beg for attention, that beg for softness? Because until you are willing, every word you speak about strength is a lie. Until you are willing, you remain a servant, no matter how many people you fool. But when you decide, truly decide, to live with fire, to sharpen yourself every day, to burn away weakness until nothing remains but steel, then and only then does the world begin to treat you differently. Not because you asked, not because you performed, but because you became. And when you become, others have no choice but to recognize it. Even if they hate it, even if they envy it, even if they fear it, they will recognize it. And once they do, the crown is already in your hands. Power is not given. Power is taken. It is seized in silence, in strategy, in moments when others are distracted by comfort or blinded by fear. If you wait for someone to grant it, you will wait forever. The servant waits. The ruler takes. And the difference between the two is not chance, it is decision. A single decision, repeated daily, until it becomes identity. Once you decide that weakness no longer has a place in you, everything changes. Your walk changes. Your voice changes. Your eyes change. Because power is not a costume you put on. It is a state of being that bleeds through your every action. You must stop thinking as the many think. The herd wants safety, the herd wants acceptance, the herd wants ease. But safety is an illusion. Acceptance is slavery. Ease is decay. Every empire that ever fell was destroyed not by enemies at the gate, but by weakness within the walls. The same is true for men. You are your own empire. And if you let softness grow inside, if you allow distraction to rule you, if you bow to fear, your empire will collapse from within. The throne inside you will be taken by doubt, and once doubt wears the crown, you are no longer king of yourself. You are a prisoner inside your own mind. You must remember what Machiavelli understood. It is better to be feared than to be loved. If you cannot be both, love is conditional. Love can turn to hate when it is no longer fed. But fear remains. Respect born from fear endures even in silence. If you want to kill the servant inside you, you must stop begging to be liked. You must stop bending to win smiles. You must stop seeking approval like a starving dog. A ruler does not beg. A ruler does not plead. A ruler does not adjust himself to gain affection. He sharpens himself until others must adjust to him. That is power. That is permanence. That is how men carve their names into history, while the rest vanish into dust. You will not get there by words alone. Every man can speak of power. Every man can dream of dominance. But only those willing to bleed for it will taste it. Discipline is your weapon. Patience is your shield. Ruthlessness is your crown. You train your body until it obeys without hesitation. You train your mind until it does not fold under pressure. You cut away laziness as if it were a disease. You destroy excuses the moment they rise. You reject softness the way a predator rejects poison. This is how you shape yourself into steel. This is how you make the servant inside you starve until it dies and only the ruler remains. Do not expect the world to celebrate your rise. They will not. They will mock you first. They will call you obsessed. They will whisper that you have changed. They will say you are cold, arrogant, unkind. They will resent the fact that you no longer bend. This is the price. This is the proof. The same mouths that once demanded your submission will spit venom when you stop obeying. Let them. Their noise means nothing. Their anger is confirmation. If they hate your strength, it is because it exposes their weakness. If they despise your presence, it is because it reminds them of their absence. And if they resist your certainty, it is because your very existence threatens the illusion of their comfort. Let them choke on it. Do not bend. Do not explain. Do not return to the cage. The servant is dead. Do not resurrect him for their approval. You must learn to carry solitude like a crown. Weak men fear being alone because silence confronts them with their emptiness. Rulers embrace solitude because it sharpens their mind. In solitude, you train. In solitude, you plan. In solitude, you build yourself into someone the world cannot ignore. And when you return, your presence carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken battles you fought within yourself. That is why others feel it. They sense the wars you survived without ever seeing them. They recognize that you are not like them, because most men never fought those wars. Most men surrendered before they even began. That is why they will never rise. That is why they will never rule. Understand this: killing the servant inside you is not a single act. It is a lifelong execution. The servant will attempt to return. It will whisper to you when you are tired. It will tempt you when you are distracted. It will seduce you with comfort, with validation, with softness. You must kill it again and again until it no longer dares to rise. You must be relentless, because power is not permanent unless you guard it. The moment you relax, the moment you believe the battle is over, the servant returns to reclaim the throne. And the fall is always faster than the rise. That is why discipline is forever. That is why vigilance is eternal. That is why you can never stop sharpening yourself. In the end, there are only two kinds of men: those who rule themselves, and those who are ruled by others. Those who rise and those who kneel. Those who wear the crown and those who carry it for someone else. The servant lives in most men until their last breath. But for a rare few, for those who decide that slavery is worse than death, the servant is slaughtered. And when that happens, the man is reborn, not as one of the many, not as prey, not as decoration, but as predator, as ruler, as one who does not ask, who does not beg, who does not bow. He takes, he commands, he conquers, he carries silence like a weapon and certainty like a crown. This is the path, brutal, lonely, ruthless, but once walked, it transforms you into something the world can neither ignore nor break. The servant dies. The ruler is born. And once you sit upon that inner throne, nothing and no one can remove you.